These are the things to be thankful for. Seeing eye to eye is to be thankful for. Pleasant humble spirit to fulfill one's soul.
Hey, hope all is well. So let's talk. Literacy rates are the lowest they've ever been. Teachers are quitting at alarming rates. Teachers' motivations and challenges just extend anything that a lot of people can comprehend. There are outdated textbooks and curriculum that are propagandized to just manipulate your children. Standardized testing is not effective at all. There is a shift in the children's interest that is towards digital distractions, and also a shift towards greed and taxpayer dollars. You are funding a nice looking building within your community, for the most part, where your child is really not learning anything at all. However, that was the goal, right? That was the goal. And I spoke about this a few videos back where I talked about the foundation of education and how it came to be. The General Education Board that was founded in 1915 was not interested in having a nation of thinkers. They were interested in having a nation of workers, which is what we see today. People going to their 9-to-5s, working in factories, on the labor lines, basically slaving their lives away for these people who are capitalizing off of them. And they don't know any better because the common sense is lacking, the critical thinking is lacking, their reading abilities are lacking. Right now in America, we have more than 93 million adults who read at or below basic levels, and this is why many of them face challenges when it comes to having to work these living wage jobs. You have college-bound students across the country that spend more than $1.3 billion on remedial courses alone, and because of this, the low literacy rates in the schools are forcing the districts to switch to phonics-based teaching, which is the standard and where we should have been the entire time. The primary focus of phonics instruction is to help beginning readers understand that letters are linked to sounds and that sounds form words and that these words have these corresponding spelling patterns. Okay, remember, I've also said that in a previous video, John D. Rockefeller was the one that had this philanthropic effort in America in education to change the way the school system was operating. He's the one that decentralized homeschooling and decentralized all the things that had to actually do with education. Remember, homeschooling was very common and the literacy rates back then were more than 90%. Right now, you have politicians who are going back and forth, divided over the school issues, school vouchers, school curriculum, whether the Bible should be placed into the schools, whether the curriculum should be moral-based and have principles and be able to have stimulating conversations with these kids about what's actually going on. There's nothing in the textbooks that is actually factual. And most of the things that they're pushing right now has a lot to do with politics and a lot to do with just issues going on that have nothing to do with these kids. The corruption, the greed, the unjust system that is education and so many other systems in America is falling because it has to. It's time to rise up and go back to basics because that is what God intended. For your child to learn to read the proper way and not be manipulated into some system simply based off of propaganda. So starting with basics. I'm here for solutions now. We've talked about the things that are wrong with the system, the literacy rates, the problems in education, the schools that are failing, everything in education. But now it's time to come with solutions. How do we fix this problem? What do we do? Because the children that I come in contact with now, a lot of them cannot read. And I'm not saying that it's their fault because it's not. And honestly, there are a lot of teachers in the profession who get into the profession thinking that they're actually going to make a difference. But it's the system. It's the way the system was built. So you have to get out of the system and incorporate your own rules, your own laws, because that's what's needed to just simply get back to how teaching is supposed to be and learning is supposed to be. Basic. Letter sounds is the first thing anyone should introduce to their child. I'm not talking about the ABC song or the 1, 2, 3 song. I'm saying letter sounds. How does that letter sound? A lot of children that I come across now, that I speak with now, they know their ABCs back and forth. They can say A, B, C, D, E, F, G, all the way to Z. But if I show them a letter, they don't know what letter this is. They don't know what sound it makes. But they'll sing that song all day because they understand the song, but they don't understand what they're supposed to be learning from the song. There's a lot of people who just want to entertain these kids. I see so many articles right now that are geared towards digital learning and getting your child online, and that's the best way to teach them, and it's not. That's what's wrong with the children now. There's too many of them online, too many of them going the digital route when you need to bring it all the way back to basics. Put a pencil and a piece of paper in front of their child, and you make them write down their ABCs. And then you go one by one and you go through those sounds. You take those alphabets out of order and you begin to teach them out of order, because that is the way they're going to learn. They don't need to know anything just simply by memory alone, learning these silly songs that have nothing to actually do with reading basics. Everybody can sing the ABC song, but can everybody read? After you begin with your letter sounds, you begin to go into letter or alphabet recognition. Alphabet recognition means now I'm going to start showing you and telling you what the letter name is. I know that this says I. Now I'm going to let you know that this is an I. I says I. Yes, we understand that this says Z, but now I'm going to tell you that this is a Z. This says Y. Now, let me let you know that this is a Y. And we begin to walk through understanding and recognizing your alphabet. Because after that child begins to read, they need to learn to spell. So they need to know the names of the alphabet, but the sounds are more important. So you teach all of this out of order. Everything that you think you know about teaching your child to read, throw it out of the window. And you teach it out of order and make that child recall those names and recall those sounds at any time. Get flashcards if you need to do whatever it is to instill the base of what the child needs to know so that they can build their reading fundamentals off of that. Now your phonemic awareness would be next, and where you understand what the phonemes or sounds are now. Now we can begin to put them together to form small words. Now we can form simple words, little 2-letter blends like A and T or E and K, ek, at, so that we can start to learn to read. It's steps and there's levels to understanding what it looks like, okay? So after you've done this, you have the sounds down. Then we need to get to a point to where we are teaching the child how to read. I would suggest investing in $1 whiteboard or something from somewhere where you can get a marker and begin to blend these words. Your child should know A, E, I. And we're going to start with this, okay? We are going to just simply put a G here. And then we put our dots underneath because our dots are going to represent our sounds. A, G, A, G, A, G, ag, ag, egg, 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 ig, ig, ig. And that is how we are going to begin. You have A-T, at. You do the same thing for E, et. You keep on blending every day. It. And you keep on going. You do A, E, I, O, U. You start putting any consonant that you can find with those vowels in front to help your child begin to blend a little bit more effectively, a little easier, a little smoother, right? And then when you're done blending and your vowels are down, then you can begin to flip it and put your consonants in front. So then you would have a blend like t, a, ta, or e, fe, fe, t, a, ta. Eventually you'll get to the point to where you can add another sound, and then that a becomes t, a, p, t, a, p. And then it becomes tap, tap. And then you keep on building off of that. That is fundamental. Right here, we have Back to Basics. This is a book, workbook for children. This is what I use, so it's going to look like this. I use it almost every day. Now, the thing is, it's going to introduce your alphabets. It goes through the first few pages and then it goes straight into blending. The reasoning is because it's going to tell you the first thing you need to do before really entering into this book is teach your child your letter sounds. Meaning sit down with your child for not even 30 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes a day, and begin to work on those letter sounds. The thing with homeschool is you don't have to teach your child for 8 hours, like when they're sitting in a school building, not doing anything. The research I've done has concluded that children really don't need that many hours of schooling per day. They need 3 days of school, possibly more hands-on than anything, but 3 days of book work, 3 to 5 hours of actual book work, and 5 hours is really more so for 4th and 5th grade. Okay, or those children who are maybe 9 to 11 years old. Anything less than probably 8 years of age, you do not need to have that child in a school setting for no more than 3 to 4 hours a day, because that's a lot for their brain to take in, okay? Especially when they're actually learning, okay? Here you have all of the things you need to do, all of your 2-letter blends, then you continue to move on. I have phonetic sentences in here in which your child, once they finish with your blends, they can begin to read those little short sentences. And then they move on to your 3-letter CVC words, where your vowel is color-coded in the middle for them to understand that this is a vowel and this is the sound that it says. You continue to move through the book. You have word families in here. You have different word families, different pages, different words. Mostly all of the CVC words you can think of are probably in this book. Most of them. And then you continue to move on. You have phonetic manipulation, in which you can change the beginning sound of the word to become something else. And after they get to that point, it gets to the point of them breaking down the word by sound. So a word like bus, we can say b-us, and we begin to talk about sounds, okay? The word dig, d-ig, dig. And so that helps the child. And by the time they're done with this, they're ready to move on to the second book, which is a more in-depth book about blending and long vowels and all of those things. And then after that, there'll be another book that comes after it to continually build up on the foundational principles that they've already learned. That's teaching a child to read the proper way. Now, before I go, the one thing I can say is I have put these books to the test. I'm currently working with this book, and I can say that I have been teaching a 4 and 6-year-old to read, and they have been catching on the same exact way I'm telling you guys, because it works. These little books are important. If you can find any little books with very short words in them, library, half price bookstore, Goodwill, donations, whatever you can get, to help those children see those words on a page and put an image to a name or anything like that to help those words to stick helps a lot. Don't just teach your child sight words. Sight words are those words where you just, oh, this says like, this says it, this says to. Don't just do that, because they're going to remember the words, but they're not going to understand how you put that word together. Okay, so teach them the sounds, build up on that. Get these books if you can. Find little books and short stories for your child to read to build on the foundational principles. I am going to put the link in the description box for my books, my workbooks, and where you can find them, as well as where you can find the flashcards that I have created. Remember, there are 2 sets, one with animals and insects, and then another one that's basically like miscellaneous. And again, you don't want to just teach the child the letter and then the image. Well, Y says yarn, or Y says yak. A says apple. Don't do that. Just teach the child the sound. That's it. When they see this, they should automatically just know this says y. A picture of a yak should not pop up in their head, but the letter sound should pop up in order for them to understand it. Okay, let's get away from what they've taught us to do. Get away from all the digitalization of things, and get away from trying to teach the kids the alphabet song and, helping them to memorize sight words and all of those things. They don't work. I'm telling you, they do not work. Every child that I have come across and have talked to that's supposed to know how to read, 9 to 14-year-olds that are supposed to know how to read, when I ask them their letter sounds and I ask them to read specific things for me, a lot of the times there's some errors in their vocabulary and a lot of errors in the way that they see words because they weren't taught the fundamental basics. So imagine having to take a 14-year-old or a 15-year-old all the way back to something that they should have learned when they were 4 or 5. Granted, it can be done, but the fact is, it needs to be done at an early age so that they can go ahead and catch on. Okay, so if there are any questions, comments, whatever it is, please let me know. I will be more than happy to answer. I hope that this video helps someone, because again, now it's time for the solutions. Okay, it's time to stop talking about what's going on and advocate for the people who need the help. Advocate for the ones who need this stuff. Okay, and need assistance in any way that we can give it. So thank you for watching, and I hope you guys have a blessed day.